All right, welcome back everyone. In this video, we will be going over your syllabus. So I will be sharing my screen with it. You can also get your own copy of the syllabus from either the first module, the email that I sent you, or you can go on Canvas and click on the link tab that says syllabus, and it is on there as well. My apologies if there are any extra sounds with us today. The bird is joining us, and the bird is sitting next to me. Okay, so let's get to it. Bring it up. All right. So this is your class, Psychology 116. If you are not trying to be in 116, there is something wrong. Contact me. So your section is 30325, and it is spring 2021. I will be your professor, Brianna Messerschmidt. And this is completely an online course. So we will never be meeting in person. It's important that you know that. I'll have a whole other video as well, kind of what that entails. But just know that here are some of the things that you need to know with the syllabus. So there is a required text. You do need it. There will be most of the chapters you will need to read at one point or another. I will also do my best to make videos along the way, as well as give you supplementary resources to the material. However, you will be asked to read pretty much the entire book. So you will need this textbook. You can find it right here with the ISBN number. In this class, we will be looking at the steps of life. From womb to tomb, meaning when someone is actually not even born yet, all the way until death. So that's usually actually very straightforward in a lot of ways, because we will be looking at chunks of lifespan, developmental lifespan, throughout the entire course. So every class will kind of be looking at that little piece of what life is like between certain ages. So that's kind of in a nutshell, what your class that you will be doing is. There are some prerequisites, so all of you should have already taken general psychology. Some of you I know are returning students from my general psychology class, so welcome back. Course outline. So you need to know that classes that are online, I'm sure you've been hearing this from other students, and by that I mean also other teachers. It's not easier. There is a misconception that online classes will be easier than in person, but as I'm sure some of you have already found out through quarantine and taken some of your first online classes, that is not the case. So they are typically maybe even a little bit more work than in-person classes. You will be required to read the textbook like I described. You are going to be required to kind of keep things organized on your end, to find that time management. It's not just I'm going to go into class, take some time in the class, go home, digest it, and do the material. It is something you're going to have to go into with a plan. So make sure that you are aware of that. Make sure that you're also aware that this class is going to take time, and you have to set time aside in order to do it. There is a detailed calendar for you to know when things are due, but you're going to need to go in throughout the week and make sure that you're turning your material in promptly, hopefully before the due date, so that if there is an issue, you can address it before there's even more of an issue. So know that you can go through and read this on your own. Grades on Canvas. I just want to make sure that all of you know that although there are grades posted on Canvas, they are not always accurate to what your grades are. That will come into more of a light as to why later on in the syllabus. However, know that I will either be dropping some test scores, I will be adding extra credit at certain points. So Canvas is unaware of those details that I change. So I do recommend keeping track of your own grades as we go, as opposed to relying solely on what Canvas is telling you. If you do need help with Canvas, here are some supports for you. Know that you will need to have access to a computer, access to the internet, access to all of that. And if you don't, you need to be contacting me now so I can connect you to those resources. We have our class objectives here. You can read them at your leisure. as well as our student learning objectives. Attendance, you are not required to be here at any particular time, but you are required to participate through all of the assignments and such. Academic honesty, there's a lot here, but basically what it says is please do not cheat. It is significantly easier, in my opinion, to think that you can get away with it on an online class, just because there isn't as much of a human connection there. But please don't. Things will be turned into through turnitin.com. I'm usually very aware of the literature that is out there, and I can see when things are not necessarily your words. I will read all of the material that you turn in. Do not copy anything. Do not copy your textbook. Do not copy websites. Do not copy classmates. All of that stuff is cheating and plagiarism. So please, please, please do not do that. I have made a list of common things that people do on here, and I wish that I didn't have to go through this as thoroughly as I am now, but unfortunately, it is a thing. So please, please, please do not be that person. I do not want to have to report anyone. It's never a fun process. And in the long run, you're cheating yourself anyways. So please, please, please don't do that. Classroom conduct. Be aware whenever you are participating in group discussions or anything that students in this class will have a variety of ages, backgrounds, capabilities, interests, and levels of preparation. So be considerate, be empathetic of your fellow classmates. You can go through here and you can read more about kind of what is expected of you in the classroom conduct. Also, sexual harassment is not tolerated. Here is the official sexual harassment policy according to the Compton College Student Handbook, all quoted on here for your reading. I also have a little blurb on here about Americans with Disabilities Act. If you are someone who may need some extra accommodations, you will need to go to Compton's Resource Center, and basically you'll fill something out with them. They will send me a form and tell me what any kind of accommodations you need are, whether that's more time on exams or assignments or whatnot. So make sure that you go do that so they can be in contact with me and I can give you the accommodations that you would need. We have our fairly straightforward grading system of what you will need. There isn't a curve in this class. You get what you get, so know that. There are several ways that you could earn your points in this class. So we will have exams, we will have group discussions, we will have little quizzes or exercises called material concept exercises or MCEs, as well as journal entries. Here you can see how much points each of these items is worth. You will also see that not everything is scored. For example, we have your exams here. There are a total of 3, however, only 2 are scored. The reason for that is that your lowest score of your first 3 exams can be and will be dropped. And so basically you get a little bit of a freebie if you're here for all of them. If you don't do as well as you want on one of the tests, it will be dropped. If for some reason something comes up and you're unable to take the exam, one of those times, it will be dropped. So be aware. But because of that, there is no makeup policy. You get one freebie. And that is also for, as you can see, the first exams. You cannot drop your final exam. Same thing goes for group discussions. There will be an offered 6 and your lowest one will be dropped, meaning that you could potentially, if you miss one, that one won't hurt you, right? You have your quizzes, 21 will be offered, only 20 will be scored. Journal entries, you have to do all of your journals. There are not as many, there's only 10, so you have to make sure you do them. And look right here already, extra credit is being offered. So the extra credit is if you are able to do all of your group discussions and all of your MCEs, any extra points you would have gotten from those can be scored towards your grade. So you can keep those scores from those 2 things and get a possible 25 extra credit points. Yeah, but that means you have to be on top of it now, not later on in the end of the semester. Okay, and you can see how all the points are broken down here. When it comes to your exams, there will be a total of 4, right? The first 3 and the final exam. The first 3, remember, you can drop 1, but you cannot drop your final. They will be available to you for several days, okay? But know that although they are available to you for the first 3 for 3 days, you will be timed once you open it. Once you open the exam, you are saying, okay, I have at least 90 minutes right now to take this exam, or actually I believe it is 80, excuse me. Your final, you have 90. And you will take those 80 minutes to take your exam. If something drops, something happens, number 1, contact me immediately. But number 2, you need to make sure that that kind of thing doesn't happen during that window of 80 minutes. Right? Again, you'll have 3 days to say when you want that window to be, but once you decide on that window, you have to take it. Also, if you get it too close to the end of time, of your time limit, as in it goes past 11:59 on that 3rd day, the test will automatically drop. So make sure that you plan that accordingly. You can go in here and read more about that specifically. Again, remember that late submissions will not be accepted and you may not make up any exams. Group discussions. So we will have several group discussions. You already have one posted for your first week, so I suggest going on there and taking a look at that. Remember, your lowest one, or maybe one that you have forgotten, will be dropped. There are different pieces to your group discussions. There is an initial post and there are replies. Okay, and those are going to divide your points in half. Your initial post needs to generally be created by Wednesday of the assigning week, and your 2 responses need to be in by Friday of that assigning week. There are minimum word numbers on there, so please make sure that if you want all of your points, you reach that minimum number requirement. If you do not, points will be deducted from your total score, and that's just a shame. Don't do that. Excuse me. Okay. So you can go on here and read more about it. You can see that there is that minimum of 150 words for your initial reply and minimum of 50 words for your 2 responses that you need in by that Friday. Like I said, it is a generality that these are the dates. Every now and then, for example, your final discussion will have different dates, so always be aware of your calendar. MCEs, these are the little quizzes that you're going to have. So generally speaking, again, you're going to have one of these quizzes for every chapter that is covered. So for in this week, you will have one for chapter 1. Next week, you'll have one for, I think, 2, 3. You'll have to check your schedule. I don't have it memorized in my brain. But there's going to be one for all of those, as well as every now and then I might have something to get to know you a little bit more, or to survey the class. So keep an eye out on those, but that's kind of an idea of what you can expect. Like I've said earlier, there will be 21 given and only 20 scored. If you do all 21, you can get those extra points. They will be due Friday at 11:59, not a minute later. Again, you can drop one if you're not able to complete it. Journals. You will have a total of 10 journals worth 10 points. I will give you prompts for this. There is some material here that you can go through and read. Because these ones, you don't drop the lowest score, you can see that I do have a late policy for these, where 10% of whatever you have earned will be dropped for every day that it is late. So be aware of that, even if it is just 1 minute late. There are minimums on here. And again, please, please, please make sure that you always use your own words. If you ever cite any sources, which you do need to do, at least 2 on here, make sure that they are in quotes, right? Most of the words from your journal cannot be from the cited source. It needs to be from you and how you feel or what you think about the source that you are citing. Okay. Yeah. And a disclaimer, be aware that things can change. We all survived. Everybody here survived 2020. We know that things can change on a whim. So please be aware of that. I will try to make announcements if anything comes up that are obvious, but that is something that will happen. So keep an eye on Canvas for those announcements. Below here, you can see the semester schedule. For those of you who have it in color, I have tried to make it a little bit easier in your organization to see what's what. So like purple is for all the discussions, blue is for MCEs and whatnot. If you're colorblind, I apologize. All the information is still there, and you can try to organize it the best way that you can. So you can see I have the weeks on the very left, topic activity on the very right, and due dates in the middle, at least generally. So again, we've started school on March 1st. You can see that in that opens your orientation, the syllabus, chapter 1 will open, the discussions will open and such. Your first post for your discussion is due on Wednesday. That's probably very soon if you're watching this video. Your MCEs, which are, there will be two, one for chapter 1 and one kind of an orientation question, will be due on Friday. And you have a journal due coming up on Saturday, as well as your 2 replies to the discussion. So again, be aware that, again, you have multiple due dates. You do not have to complete them all on these dates, but you have to complete them before all of these dates. So if you want to spend a lot of time earlier on the week completing everything early, it's probably a good idea just in case anything goes wrong. So if you can, try to do that. These are just the last possible times that you can turn them in and get all of your points. You can go through, you can see that it's pretty straightforward in how the work is going to go. You have your chapters that open up in the beginning of the week. You have your MCEs that are due. Then you have your journals due. And it just keeps going that way until we have a group discussion. Now, group discussions are always going to be the same week, at least, as an exam that you have. So you can see your first exam week is going to be week 4. You have a group discussion that opens. You have your initial post that's due Wednesday. You have your 2 replies that are due. And then you'll also have your examination. So it looks like on here, your examination opens on Friday and it will remain open until Sunday. Again, remember, once you click it to actually take it, you'll only have those 80 minutes to take your exam. But it will be available to you for those 3 days to choose when to take it. And then we jump back into the normal thing. Here's your chapters. Here's your things that are due, right? Remember, along the way, I'll add in pages of supplemental free information, of different maybe videos of some of that information, but this is just kind of the way that this is going to go, opening and closing with these due dates. We already have on here your spring break. You will not be expected to do anything on those days. And so on and so forth, all the way through your 14-week semester until your final exam due on the 10th. Now, you don't have to worry about this now, but be aware that week 14 kind of does differ from the rest of the weeks that we will see things, just because school will end on a Thursday rather than the entire week. So it's kind of been truncated a little bit here. So be aware. Woohoo! I've also added to the very end of your syllabus student support services. So if you do need any help with anything, most things are on this list. So you can go through at your leisure, and if you need anything, this information is available to you. Library, counseling, technology, so on and so forth. All right. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope the bird was not too loud. If you do have questions, please feel free to contact me. On Canvas, you can also see, I may have forgotten to add it to the syllabus actually, that I will have an office half an hour. That office half an hour will be every Monday, except for during spring break, at 5:30 to 6 p.m. So if you do want to come say hello, or if you do have questions about the syllabus, come ask. All right, I'll see you around.